as well. So we just a couple housekeeping announcements. If you want to chat with us, ask questions today, you can interact with the speakers today and their presentations via the Zoom panel. You can comment, share your thoughts, tell us where you are joining from. It's always excited to hear from which countries we have in the audience as well. So you can drop that in the chat as well. And also you can utilize the Q&A feature to ask your very specific questions, which we will then post to our speakers directly to answer at the end of their sessions. So definitely want to empower you guys to utilize that feature as well. Also want to let you know that the biographies of all of the guest speakers today will be viewed on the CTU's website and will be uploaded immediately after the session is completed. So that's the housekeeping for today. We are going to go straight into the sessions for today because we have a very tight schedule.
We have a
very
tight schedule,
agenda.
but you did mention,
Extremely.
yeah, there's a lot. And today just covers the first 3 months of 2026. Okay, this is just the first 3 months. And it's going to take us just roughly 2 hours just to tell you what's happening in the first 3 months of 2026. 2026 is going to be an amazing year. We have highlighted, we're not talking about it today, but there's the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference where the ITU is going to select its new Secretary General. The United States is putting forward a candidate, Mr. Ring Bogdan-Martin, who is the current Secretary General. And very interestingly, the Caribbean, for the first time in small island developing states, will be putting forward a candidate for Deputy Secretary General. And so we are enlisting the full support of the Caribbean. We'll tell you about that later, not today, but stay tuned for that. That's a very exciting development. You mentioned the Global Industry Watch session afterwards. What is the topic and who's going to be talking about that topic?
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about that as well. So today we're going to talk about on the Global Industry Watch. So you have to stay for the full agenda to get access to that because it's a really interesting topic, space sustainability. So we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Siuk, who's going to talk about from crowded orbits to sustainability, connectivity, implications for the Caribbean. And then we also have Dr. Tan and Dr. Koller, who's going to talk about space safety and sustainability from an operator's perspective.
And he's with Amazon, right?
Yes. And then we have Dr. Siosk, who is the head of Space and Spectrum Affairs at Welchman Keen. So
excellent.
That is an exciting topic, but you guys have to stay until the very end for that as well. So we have, we want to go straight into the first item?
Absolutely. Tell us who is on first and what is he talking about?
Okay, so first on our agenda today, hi Travis. First on our agenda today is Mr. Nate Davis, who is the Senior Government Affairs Analyst for the American Registry of Internet Numbers, ARIN. Who is going to inform us about ARIN's fellowship process for 2026. So, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, but just before he comes on, I want to express my appreciation to ARIN for its continued support of the CTU. In fact, ARIN supported youth participation in the World Telecoms Development Conference that took place in Baku, Azerbaijan, just a few months ago. And so ARIN has been a really, really strong supporter, and it helps, and their support helps us to do what we do. So welcome, Nate. Thanks for joining us, and tell us about the ARIN Fellowship and about the upcoming ARIN meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary General. And can everybody hear me?
Well, I can certainly hear you, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for allowing ARIN to provide this brief update on its fellowship program. To all attendings, I'm wishing you, on behalf of ARIN, the very best of 2026. The ARIN Fellowship program.
Sorry, Nate, if you can just maybe do it in presentation mode, that would be.
I am sorry, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. The ARIN Fellowship program takes place before, during, and after each ARIN meeting. It's really an opportunity for those interested to gain insight and experience into ARIN's policy development process. But I think more importantly, and in broader terms, what we're really talking about is capacity building within internet governance. and Caribbean voices are critical to a healthy, functioning internet. Each fellow is supported by a mentor and can expect 2 to 3 virtual sessions in preparation for Aaron's upcoming meeting at the upcoming meeting, April 19th through the 22nd, 2026 in Louisville, Kentucky. These sessions, preparatory sessions, will help fellows review the Aaron policy process, engage with a mentor, the opportunity to meet with other fellows and engage with them, and for ultimately to prepare them for attendance at the Aaron meeting. Fellowships cover hotel, travel, and there's a stipend for expenses as well. Following their engagement at the meeting, the fellows will have the opportunity to provide feedback regarding their experience, as well as the ability to comment on the Aaron Fellowship Program and how we can continue to improve it. Although the Aaron meeting is not until April, it's important that we start the process now. And as it turns out, the fellowship application period opened yesterday, and that application period will stay open until the 26th of this month, January 26th. So during that time, we're accepting applications to the fellowship program. Those applications will be evaluated by a fellowship selection committee, where up to 10 fellows are selected, and then the process for engagement with their mentors and travel planning begins. Fellows have gone on to serve in the Aaron Advisory Council with the Aaron Board of Trustees, but more globally, fellows have continued to serve in broader internet governance roles in international fora. I'll place the link for the program in chat. Please consider applying for a fellowship, either for yourself or feel free to share the link with others. And then lastly, what I'll just mention, and these are ways to stay in contact with Aaron, either, of course, attending one of our meetings, and you can do that virtually, but also joining one of our mailing lists, and as well as subscribing to our blogs. That really concludes my presentation. I wanted to keep it brief, but I welcome any questions. And again, thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Nate. And thank you for keeping it brief as well, because we do have such a quite agenda for today. So thank you very much for that. All right. So
Sorry, just one question. Is
Sure.
it, Nate, and the fellowship is open to, we have 21 member states, so I know Aaron's, not all of our member states are Aaron members. Is it open only to the members, to the countries that are members of Aaron, or that the Aaron covers? Yeah, that's my question.
That's a great question. And so it is, I won't say limited, it is just those countries that are part of the Aaron region. That's correct.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. We will do our best to circulate this as well for members and ensure that there's good Caribbean participation there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much. So before we move on to the next speaker, again, I'm seeing that the chat is quite active today. So I want to remind you guys to definitely use the Q&A feature for questions, for specific questions that you have related to the presentation, so that we can see those and it doesn't get lost in the banter that's in the chat. But absolutely keep commenting in the chat, everyone. We are very much enjoying seeing out all the comments in the chat right now. So let's go right on to our next speaker today. And this is happening from the 12th to the 23rd of January in Geneva, Switzerland. It's going to be the first cluster of the ITU Council working groups and expert groups for 2026 that's taking place in preparation for the ITU 2026 plenipotentiary.
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 We call it plenipot
Conference. To tell us all about it is going to be Miss Michelle Grell-Barrow, the International Relations Advisor for the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, the URCA of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Yeah, commonly referred to as IRCA.
IRCA.
IRCA. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you very much for that welcome. I'm very pleased to share, and good afternoon to everyone on the call. I'm very pleased to share an overview of the issues that will be addressed during the ITU Council Working Group meeting, which commenced next week and will continue until January 23rd. But before I do, I'll just give a brief background for persons who are not familiar on why these meetings are important to us. As some of us know, the work of the ITU is member-driven and governed by the Plenipotentiary Conference, which Rodney referred to earlier. The ITU Council it's another governing body within the ITU, whereas the Plenipotentiary Conference meets every 4 years to determine the strategic direction of the organization and its activities. The ITU Council meets once every year to ensure that those activities, policies, and strategies fully respond to the rapidly evolving telecommunications environment. The Bahamas is one of the 9 countries in the Americas region and the only Caribbean country on the ITU Council. And ITU councilors are specifically responsible for reviewing ITU activities, approving budgets, operational plans, addressing membership issues, and ensuring the effective implementation of the ITU strategic goals as determined by the Plenipotentiary Conference. Council working groups and expert groups, they support the work of the Council by addressing specific technical, strategic, and policy issues that require detailed examinations. Participation in the Council working groups therefore offers Council member states with an opportunity for active involvement in the ITU's decision-making process. There are currently 9 active Council working groups and expert groups that you can see here. I wouldn't stay too long here. I'll just go straight into talking about the key agenda items for each of them. And why is this January 2026 Council Working Group cluster so important? It's because it's the last opportunity for the Council Working Groups to advance matters that will then be forwarded to the Council session in April, May this year, for submission to the 2026 Plenipotentiary Conference that will take place in November. So these meetings will provide an opportunity for Council member states to assess progress on work, shape institutional reforms, promote regional priorities, and engage in early positioning ahead of the PP in November. So the first, the most, what I would consider the most important issue that will be considered will be by the Council Working Group on the Strategic and Financial Plan. So member states will be finalizing the situational analysis and other inputs for the Strategic and Financial Plan that would be submitted to Council to then be forwarded for approval at the Plenipotentiary Conference. The Council Working Group on Finance and Human Resources usually, looks at the finance and administrative matters of the ITU. And there are a number of issues before it. Most important to us in the region is that the updates from the regional presence review. So the regional presence is the arm of the ITU that interfaces directly with member states. And we know we have an ITU Caribbean area office in Barbados, which is headed by Cleveland Thomas, and he's supposed to be on the call. But there was a membership survey that took place over the last quarter in 2025 to determine the regional presence's effectiveness. And so Council working groups would be looking at the results of that survey to see what recommendations need to be made to Council moving forward. The Council Working Group would also be looking at several methodologies that they're finalizing for consideration by Council. One is in relation to how we assess the financial implications of conference proposals, how the ITU goes about selecting countries to host ITU events. They'd also be looking at methodologies for reducing the financial burdens on host countries for ITU events. Methodologies for reviewing the ITU contributory unit, and that is important because there are implications there for the fees that member states pay to the ITU, as well as methodologies for recovering costs for the processing of satellite network filings. There's also a lot of interest right now on the ITU headquarters project, which is to be renovated over the next few years, and business continuity plans while that is happening. So councillors would be looking at progress updates and addressing any issues or making any recommendations or decisions that need to be taken on these matters. There's the council working group on child online protection. That generally that meeting is open to not just member states and sector members, but experts with interest in child online protection. And it's a good forum for sharing of best practices, experiences, and lessons in child online protection strategies and how those are being implemented in different countries. The meeting will also provide an update on the ITU Child Online Protection Initiative as well as the Global Child Online Protection Program. There'll be a special session on AI and the rights of the child. So if you are registering for these meetings, this would also be another session that you can register for and participate in. The Council Working Group for WSIS and SDGs will be focused on the outcomes of the WSIS Plus 20 review, on the review that took place at the UNGA, that's the UN General Assembly, that took place in December last year, and what that outcome means for the work and involvement of the ITU in this process. And they would also be looking at the report on activities, ITU's activities on AI and other technologies, as well as how does all of this impact implementation of the Global Digital Compact and the ITU's involvement generally. The Council Working Group on Internet will be generally reporting and considering the progress that the ITU has been making with respect to its work on internet governance, OTTs, IPv6 and other matters, internet-related policy issues emerging from WSIS, from the WSIS Plus 20 outcome, and recommendations on topics for the next open consultation on internet public policy issues. Then the expert group on the international telecommunications regulations has been over the last few years reviewing the extent to which the international telecommunication regulations are relevant in today's environment. And so the group will be finalizing its report to put forward to council. It will, currently it outlines prevailing diverging views on whether the ITRs remain relevant. The CTU, as you know, would have carried out some awareness building and conducted a survey on how relevant the ITRs are for Caribbean member states. So if you're interested in this particular topic, you can register specifically to this meeting to see how, what that report looks like and what recommendations would likely be made to council. And then finally, the informal expert group for the World Telecommunications ICT Policy Forum will be also completing its work. As you know, the World Telecommunications Policy Forum will be held in the Bahamas this year. The CTU Secretary General, Rodney Taylor, has been chairing the informal experts group that is preparing the draft Secretary General's report, that's the ITU Secretary General's report, as well as the experts' opinions that will be submitted to the meeting in June for consideration by that meeting. And so this is the final meeting where all of the experts that have been participating will be finalizing those opinions that cover themes such as the digital divide, green digital transformation, ICT resilience, space connectivity, ICT innovation, and entrepreneurship. So seeing that the WTPF will be held in the Bahamas in our region this year, I would encourage you to log in to the meeting. Participation in all of these meetings, if you're unable to travel to Geneva, you can still participate online. You can go to the link that you see on the screen to register, as well as to see the agenda and all the documents that would be considered by these groups. You do have to have a TIDES account to register, and a focal point from your country, your administration, would have to approve your registration for most of these meetings. Remote participation is possible, and there are also live webcasts. If you missed the meeting live, you can go back and view archive webcasts. So thank you very much. That is all that I have for you today, and I am ready to answer any questions. Thank you.
I don't think we have any questions in the Q&A at this time for you, Michelle. We do have some people would have commented stating that they're interested in learning more about the council group for child online protection. I know you mentioned some ways to get involved right now. Could you just kind of briefly retouch on how can the participants of today's session contribute if they would like to? How to go about doing that?
So normally the way how these meetings are set up is that there are deadlines for written submissions, but you can participate in the meeting. Child Online Protection Council Working Group is one of those that tends to be more open to persons who, you know, you don't have to be an employee in government or the regulator, but you do need to probably know someone to be able to register, because you have to get an approval from a focal point within your country. And that focal point is normally someone in the ministry that's responsible for telecommunications, or someone who in your regulator that you can write to them, reach out to them, tell them that this is something that you want to follow, that you want to participate in, and so that when you register, they would get a notification from the ITU to approve your registration. So you should let your focal point know before registering. But yes, and you can be a silent participant to just listen. And if you're an expert in this area, you can also ask for the floor remotely online and have the ability to contribute.
So let me add to that, so the ITU, to participate in the ITU meetings, as you pointed out, so you need to be either a member state or what they call an administration, a country. So government, primarily the major stakeholders in the ITU. We also have sector members. So the CTU itself is a sector member of the ITU. And we have several people on our delegation. They're not all employees of the CTU, but they may be, for example, we have participants from the youth network, from the network of women who are part of the C2 delegation. And in the past, we've had even operators as part of the C2 delegation. So there are avenues through which you can participate, but you do need approval. You can't just sign up, say, independently without any kind of membership in the ITU. And so we encourage you, if you're really interested, either if you're with government, through your government representative or focal point, and if you're not, maybe you're a CTU member, and you can talk to us about how you can be a part of the CTU delegation.
Great. So we want to go right ahead. Thank you very much for that, Michelle. And thank you for sharing for the information about how to get involved as well. So let's go right into our next speaker. We want to invite Mrs. Jacqueline Morris to start presenting, who's going to tell us about the 10th Annual Trinidad and Tobago Internet Governance Forum, the TTIGF, that takes place from the 29th to the 30th of January. And this is going to be a hybrid event held in Trinidad. Is it going to be in Trinidad?
In Trinidad and
Yes.
Tobago, actually here at the CTU Secretariat.
And Jacqueline is the chair of the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group.
No, she's not.
No,
Right.
she's not.
Tell us who you are.
Hi. Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline, and I am the past chair. I was chair last year. Unfortunately, our chair has it was unable to show up today. He has some family issues. But I'm here to tell you all about the 10th Trinidad and Tobago Internet Governance Forum. It's been 10 years of multi-stakeholder dialogue in Trinidad and Tobago. It is a free event, and it is held hybrid, both online and in person. The first day is going to be online only. The second day, both online and in person at the CTU. As Rodney already mentioned, they've been really, really good to partner with us for many years. So this year, the theme is the innovation paradox, balancing progress with responsibility and resilience. Oops, give me 1 second. I think I'm on the wrong screen. I have multiple screens here. Okay. So innovation is our engine for economic and social transformation. However, we do have a paradox. How do we evolve without compromising our values or long-term stability? Throughout this forum, the idea is that we want to explore how to stay ethical, resilient, and inclusive while navigating challenges like misinformation, ethical technology, and sustainability. So on day one, we're going to talk about progress. That's the progress side of the paradox. Examining the feasibility of integrating AI into digital transformation, ensuring, however, that it acts as a while it acts as a catalyst for growth and in many areas, we also want to maintain a foundation of trust because we have the AI has these two sides to it. We also look at the technical responsibility of securing our critical infrastructure against AI-driven cyber warfare. In day one, we also want to talk about inclusivity. We can't have progress without inclusivity. We cannot leave people behind. The digital divide is a major bottleneck. If we leave our small and medium enterprises or our rural communities behind, national progress is stalled. So we're talking with people from the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, the private sector, and others to discuss how we can strengthen collaboration to ensure that no sector is left out of the data-driven economy. So that's day one. Day two, which is our hybrid day when we will be both online and at the CTU, we're going to focus on resilience. We'll discuss the AI double-edged sword. That is the race between AI-powered threat hunting and automated attacks. AI can both hunt and be what we're hunting. Sorry, I think one of my phones has decided to start talking back to me without my intervention. All right. We also talk about how Trinidad and Tobago and the wider CARICOM region need to get involved with the bridge policy and skills gaps to remain secure in this rapidly challenging and changing global landscape. And then finally, we're also going to talk about responsibility, both to ourselves right now and the next generation. We have our youth forum. We've had our youth forum we've focused on youth in almost all our IGF sessions to date. So the Youth Forum is going to investigate the impact of technology on well-being. And then we also have a panel on the human cost of innovation, which will look at practical tools for mental resilience against the burnout of 24/7 connectivity. The TTIGF, yet again, is free to attend, hybrid format, day one online, day two online and in person. And at the end of day two, there will be a social event, if you're there in person, to connect with industry leaders and technical peers. We are also looking for partners to join us in developing this organization, this event more and more. So for partnership opportunities or more information, please, you can contact us and you register for the TTIGF at https://igf.tt. And I think that's it for me. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you. Any questions? We have a comment from Tariq. Great to see Youth Forum at TTIGF. The CIYN, which is the Caribbean ICT Youth Network, would love to support however we can. So let's get you connected and see how the Youth CIYN can help to support the TTIGF.
Yeah, and I think I heard you correct, Jacqueline, when you said that the attendance for this event, it's held in Trinidad and it's free 99.
It's free. Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yes,
that's
that's
anybody who,
part, the freeness is part of the concept of the IGF, the
Yeah.
global IGF, that it has to be open and available for anyone to come in and participate and share their thoughts on building this digital society that we're building.
so to be a part of it, anyone in the audience, they can register online and come in person for the event on the 29th to the 30th.
Right, but the
Well, it's
29th is online only. The
Mhm.
30th is when we're at the CTU.
Okay.
Because I have to say that, as you know, CTU space is limited, so for the in-person registration,
Register now,
first come, first
everyone.
serve.
Yeah. I know you have the link in the presentation. Can you also drop it here in the chat on the
Sure.
Zoom chat? Yeah, that'd be great. So yeah, looking forward to hosting you here at the CTU Secretariat. We love to see these national and regional initiatives, and I'm pretty sure this is recognized by the UN IGF as well as one of the national and regional initiatives.
Oh, yes, we have been since the first year.
Yeah, excellent,
Yes.
excellent, excellent.
So Chris, the link was just dropped in the chat for you with the registration information.
If it's not there, yeah, I'm just seeing the chat. It should be there. If it's not there, I will call and figure out what and get that link working. Because the registration should be there, but if it's not, then probably the page link is not, the page isn't properly linked yet.
Yeah.
It's a few people, we're a small group at the TT Mag,
Understood.
and everybody's doing their best. So I'll make sure that that link is working ASAP.
Sure.
No problem, no problem. Let me just circle back to a
Maureen.
question. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. There's a question actually for the previous speaker. How can you elaborate on the role CTU and IRCA playing in regional coordination? I can actually maybe answer that on behalf of CTU. So we are coordinating the regional Caribbean participation in the council working group. And in fact, for all of the ITU meetings, including the plenipotentiary conference, as we did for the World Telecoms Development Conference, we don't believe that the Caribbean countries should just show up and not be fully briefed on what the topics are, what our priorities are, and so on. These meetings are quite big, and if you don't know, you'll just be lost. So we've been coordinating, we've been having discussions, bringing in experts to talk about these different topics, and even leveraging the Youth Network and Network of Women to ensure that whenever our Caribbean delegates go, they are fully apprised of what the issues are and what we need to support. And Bahamas has been doing a tremendous job at representing the interests of the Caribbean within the ITU, sitting on council. And as Michelle presented, we have we've sort of set our sights on what are the issues of priority for the Caribbean, what we really need to pay attention to, including the ITU's presence within the region, their office within the region, or what services they offer, and so on. Other critical issues such as child online protection. So I hope that answers your question. How can we get more youth involved in the TTIGF? That's Jacqueline. How can we get more youth involved, Jacqueline?
We just invite them to attend the youth forum.
Yeah.
We have them register. They can register anytime. Schools are involved, so they can register schools. The UN definition of youth goes all the way up to what, 30 or 40?
I'm a youth as well, so I think it goes up to 50 something. Anyway, all right, well, thank you. Tariq is actually chair of the Youth Network. So Tariq,
Yes.
I think we also need to, on your network, share the link for the registration and make sure that we have those are in Trinidad and Tobago. And those that are not in Trinidad, they're more than welcome to participate online.
Before we move on, Jacqueline, if you could just put in the chat, so someone asked, please provide dates for the innovation paradox. If that's
Yeah.
if you have that.
The TTIGF, the 29th and 30th.
29th and 30th?
Okay, nothing
Okay,
specific,
yeah,
nothing
okay.
specific within that. Okay.
Yeah, that's
thanks for
fine. I
that.
think, yeah, just check the CTIGF website. So we'll actually move on to the next.
The whole thing is the innovation paradox. That's the theme of
Okay.
the
Okay,
entire 2
innovation
days.
paradox is the whole theme. Okay,
Okay.
got it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. We're going to move to the Canto Connect and the 42nd annual general meeting of Canto, and we have Mr. Jimmy Rodriguez, the finance and administrative manager, to tell us all about that. Yeah, floor is yours, Jimmy.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here, and New Year's greetings for 2026 to everyone, to the CTU team, and for all our participants here today. So I'm here, yes, to talk about Canto's next event, which will actually be in 23 days of Canto Connect and 42nd AGM. It will be held at the Hyatt Regency in Trinidad from February the 1st to the 3rd of this year. So just a few weeks ago, 3 weeks to go. Our theme, is Elevate the Caribbean from Connectivity to Global Competitiveness. And of course, registration continues at Canto's website, www.canto.org. The theme sort of highlights that, we're no longer defined by access alone, but it's about unlocking the full spectrum transformation possible. We want to be more connected and move from being just connected islands, but to globally competitive, secure digital islands in the Caribbean. So it's about progress. Let me get my page to move. Yes. So why attend? We cover a few things. We have insights and contents that would be of interest to everyone. We usually have some very good industry leaders to share on global trends, regional trends as well, innovation strategies. Our community and networking is second to none. We have participants throughout the realm, throughout the industry will be in attendance to share the dialogue, to move things forward. We always have an exhibition. At this particular event, compared to a bigger conference, it's a little smaller, but those exhibitors will be of interest to everyone, sharing what they have available to provide, to share with us. And it does increase our ability to network and to grow and to be more connected. And of course, we are in the middle of the carnival season, but Canto is known for its entertainment. The music, the cuisine, the hospitality will be there. Invite those outside of Trinidad and Tobago to make every effort to attend. Some of our main topics, a few of the topics, not all of them, but we'll definitely have a focus on Trinidad and Tobago, with a roundtable addressing the national digital strategies for global impact. Also, there will be a tech talk that covers AI, cloud, and cybersecurity for a resilient region. These areas are key, very relevant, very hot topics right now. There'll be industry spotlight on the evolution of subsea networks. Also, a topic I've seen in the last couple of years been brought to the top, and important for us with our connectivity. Within the Caribbean, we do need investments. We do need investing in the digital economy. And so our fintech groups will be coming in to discuss that. Pleased to also say that within this event, or probably right after the event, I should say, on the 4th and the 5th of February, we have a human resources training and workshop. Also will be at the Hyatt. Registration will be within our site as well. You can register directly for this alone, or you can register for both events on our webpage. Just a quick look, our supporters, our sponsors, our exhibitors, our co-hosts will be TSTT. We have Liberty, OneCom and Bravo from the ATNI group. And we have a few others, the co-sponsor, Citrix, LATAM, Alive in Bahamas is going to be sponsoring, and many others here. It's a growing list. So just wanted to highlight these as we look at this event in particular. Just for your general information, some data from last year's event, which was held in Curacao. We had 250 plus attendees representing more than 85 companies over 30 C-level attendees. And it's not just the Caribbean. We have 32 countries in attendance, so we have a worldwide following and attendance. So when we talk about global things, we bring in the Caribbean together, but with a global focus. 16 speakers, 20 sessions, 20 sponsors and exhibitors. So a nice little variety at this event, which we see it's continue to grow year after year. And we have segmented here by industry, the participants, 45% operators, 22% regulators and consultants, 16% of suppliers, and so forth. So it means that any one of you can be part of this event. You're welcome to join us, and we will welcome you, of course, to Trinidad and Tobago. I just wanted to slip this in our conference. Because of a change of date, we usually are in July, but we'll now be hosting our event on August 9th to 12th for this year in Hard Rock Hotel in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. It'll be our 41st conference. So if you need any further information about this event, you can go to, as I said, canto.org's our website. But for specific inquiries, you can reach out to Nicole Freakley, our Business Development Manager. If you want to be a sponsor, an exhibitor, or anything along those lines. If you want to be a speaker, you can reach out to Andrea Lewis Francis, our Business Support Officer. And if you have any issues with registration at all, you can reach out to Janelle Diaz. So I think that's it for now. Just a general overview of the event. And we look forward to seeing everyone there. So thanks very much.
Thanks for that, Jimmy. So just again to remind everyone, that event is happening from the 1st to the 3rd of February at the Hyatt Trinidad. All right, so if you are here with us then, looking forward to seeing everyone. I will actually be there, Jimmy. So I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and seeing everyone there. So
absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. We are right on time to head into our next speaker for today. I want to invite Dr. Maria Myers Hamilton, who is the Managing Director of the Spectrum Management Authority for Jamaica and the Chair of the CTU Spectrum Management Task Force, to tell us about the upcoming Spectrum Management Task Force meeting and workshop, which is going to be held virtually from the 10th to the 11th of February. And just for everyone's knowledge, these meetings are held quarterly and serves to prepare our members for the radio communications sector. So, Dr. Hamilton.
She's also chair of the C2 Network of Women.
Oh, yes, I met Dr. Hamilton in Jamaica. It's so nice to see you again.
Thank you so much. And again, thank everyone and good afternoon and Happy New Year to everyone. This indeed is going to be an exciting year for us as a region and as not only regionally, CTU, but also regionally, because as you all know, we are heading towards RRC 27. So this year we're going to be attending quite a bit of meetings and just getting an update. So what I'm doing for the team right now is giving an update on November's meeting. And again, always what we want to present ourselves is the why. So we have these thematic areas that we look on every time we sit down, we kind of center ourselves. So they're listed on screen from the regional FAT, which is the frequency harmonization bands. And we look at, on my mind right now is emergency communication, because you know why. And of course, we look at the harmonizing of spectrum management policies, which we have done quite a bit of work on, both in the meeting forums as well as outside of the forums, meeting with our groups. Emergency communication has its own special group. And let me tell you, I want to say a big thanks as for Jamaica, because we really felt this whole aspect of how the whole communication happened in Jamaica after Melissa. We really saw the work of the CTU in action. Spectrum pricing is very important, and interestingly enough, articles are coming out that spectrum prices are actually going down. And there's some trends that we need to look at when we're speaking about pricing, because again, the usage is getting wider. Much more different players are coming into the market. RRC 27 preparations, I cannot stress the importance of support, not only from countries to try and find a way, because again, one of the items that Michelle mentioned about the council at the Pennypot meetings is a matter of affordability. Affordability, how can we afford to attend these meetings? Because every one of us has a voice, and it's important as a region that we're represented. So these are some things that, again, I encourage persons to come to the CTU task force meetings, that we can sit and collaborate on how we can work collectively to do this. In addition to that, we look at the digital switchover in broadcasting. And in fact, we also have a paper that we have presented to the forum. This last sitting, I believe, Trinidad and Jamaica did a presentation. And of course, the final one, maintaining current information and operation coordinate, which is critical for countries like us, because we're actually surrounded by water and persons. Now, I thought this was very interesting to bring this up. This was shared at our last meeting with GSMA. And if you notice, 41% of the Caribbean population connects to mobile broadband, 52 on their own device. And these are just the very glaring things. Now, the big one and the big contention is D2D. So there is this whole concept of what is D2D and how is D2D going to affect. And the entire conference, the World Radio Conference, I mean, the bulk of the issues are centered around the whole satellite integration into terrestrial networks. So this is
Sorry, Maria, sorry, just for the benefit of our participants, just tell us D2D. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm so sorry. So it's direct to device. So right now, and I have a slide, Rodney, which is going to come up and show you what we did in Jamaica, because we're actually achieving D3 now in Jamaica. And I'm going to go into that. But what we found, like, for example, in the US, T-Mobile, for example, if you have a T-Mobile chip, if you pay for the service, T-Mobile will afford you the opportunity when you're outside the terrestrial network, you actually can jump onto the satellite side of things and make a call and receive text messages. So you're never unconnected. So again, the glitches which would occur, obviously because of how Spectrum is designed. We're trying to design a network now which is resilient and give the levels of redundancy. This is for the MNOs. And we, again, the regulators, facilitate this growth and development. Then on the other side now, you have to look at all these factors here. And again, they're a little bit technical. I know my guest is mixed, but these are the areas where the whole discussion about D2D in the international mobile telecommunications band, that's what IMT means there. But this side now you can relate to. So on November 2025 meeting, we underscored the necessity for collaboration. So in this meeting, we kind of looked at and we actually dissected what happened with Melissa. And if you note, it was 13 different systems coming into the region. And again, as projected, this year it may be even the same or even greater. So we have to delegate, we are delegated to putting in certain initiatives and stronger frameworks, and this again enhancing that disaster resilience. And if you look at the 13th storm, I mean, as I said before, the response to Jamaica was just phenomenal. It was nothing less than short and amazing. The phones came, the help came, the training came, the integration was done. And what did we achieve? We achieved this, the G block integration to the D2D scenario. So here it was, we actually pulled apart a portion of the 900 megahertz band, which is really a sweet band for IMT, but we afforded this opportunity now that that is actually one of the communities that was affected in the eastern part of the island. And if you see the devastation, if you notice, poles are down. So not only electricity, but also the lines that run above are also down. So in the interim, persons could get on and actually do text-based messages on their phone once the telecommunication operators started rolling out their network, which was incredible. And again, it all shows you what happens when we collaborate, because everybody was on the phone with Jamaica. Everybody came within the region, everybody put, how can I help? So this again, collaboration is critical because we never know what could happen. So this is when we're meeting next, and I urge everybody to please be present, February 2026. I know a lot is happening in February, as said before, Canto, but we will present our dates and make sure there are no clashes. I know, again, the CTU Secretariat is very, very efficient where this is concerned. So I leave you with this thought. It's always about the why. Why do we do what we do? And crisis, while undoubtedly difficult, it always has opportunities. And as Einstein said, because of the hair I put him in the middle of difficult lies an opportunity. And always focus on the opportunity that we can bring to the table. So at this point, I end and I welcome questions and comments. And again, thank you for this opportunity to present.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hamilton, for that. Any questions? No questions? I see Nigel has a question. Mr.
It's yes, thank you, Ashi. It's not a question, it's just to back up Maria in terms of our next meeting in February. We do have the dates, it's the 10th and the 11th of February, and it'll be a virtual meeting. We'll do that in like 2 parts, 3 hours per day. And the announcement for that should be going out by next week, please. I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate that, Nigel.
Yeah.
So we need to update the website as well, because it's not on the website.
No,
So
it's not yet. We'll do it next week, please.
excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You see the support, Rodney? The love is just coming through. I really appreciate this.
This is a CTU website, or this is a separate website?
It's the CTU website.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone needs to subscribe so that you can
No.
get all the information for all of the events happening. So if anyone on the audience today are not on the website, we do want to encourage you to do that so you can get these notifications as well. We did have one question before we move on. This one was for Jimmy. I don't know if you're still on. Someone is asking if Cantor is going to have any hybrid arrangements for the AGM, any online forums that people can join to be a part of the event, or if you have to be there in person. I don't know if Jimmy is still here and can comment on that.
Yes, it's something that we're actively looking at right now to put in place.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Maria. If there are any questions, we will alert you, and maybe you can stay on to just answer those. But we are going to move now to the Mobile World Congress, which is being held in Barcelona, Spain. We know the Barcelona football club is a very popular one here in the Caribbean. So for those fans of Barcelona football, you may use this as an excuse to get to Barcelona. And the GSMA will be will also host the Caribbean session. And here to tell us about that is Miss Campbell Massey, Director of Public Policy, GSMA for North America. And welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Well, as you said, MWC Barcelona is happening again this year, March 2nd through 5th in Barcelona. There's a lovely picture of outside. I wanted to say generally, I'm here to talk about the ministerial program, but a lot of things happen in Barcelona. So these are different zones. There's summits within the conference itself, kind of mini conferences within conferences. There's networking events. So, I'm going to talk about the ministerial program in particular, but, don't sleep on everything else. There's a lot of stuff happening in Barcelona. But something very big happening this year is the 20th anniversary of the ministerial program. Again, it's going to happen the 1st through 3rd days of the conference, so March 2nd through 4th. The invitations go out to the heads of telecom regulators, so you should have already received yours if you're out there. But we do make mistakes, and sometimes websites are not reflecting, or we're looking in the wrong place. So if you feel that you should have received an invitation and you don't know what I'm talking about right now, please reach out to this email below, the ministerialprogram@gsma.com, and they will, see if you're eligible, etc. If you have any other questions about the ministerial program, etc., you can contact me, Campbell Massey, or my colleague Judith, who I will bring up again in a moment, because so within the ministerial program, these are a list of all of the sessions that are going to happen on the ministerial stage, as well as the smaller focus stage within the conference. Kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to be talking about, right? Tech sovereignty, that's a really big one. Competition, there's a lot about spectrum, satellite. We're expecting a pretty big conference this year. So these are just some of the areas that we're talking about. Also within the ministerial program, we have roundtables, and they're on a variety of subjects from spectrum to digital inclusion, et cetera. But there is one roundtable I really want to call this group's attention to. That is the Caribbean and Pacific Islands roundtable that is happening on Tuesday. That's right. The invitations to this are meant to be sent out in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be sending them out to the invitees, people who have said that they're coming or that we've sent invitations to. Again, if you are interested in this and would like, to talk more about this, please reach out to either myself or Judith. Judith is going to be the one kind of running the roundtable itself this time. So if you have specific questions about the roundtable, she's probably your best bet. But it will be on Tuesday, March 3rd. So we took the later slot so that we could do a virtual thing for the Caribbean. So that's going to be 10:30 to noon AST time. But later in the day for Barcelona, we'll be ending at 5, which is right when everything kind of ends. And then it'll be followed by a reception. We had a reception last year that kind of followed a similar cadence as you were, because it was right after the Caribbean Roundtable. This year, as I said, we're going to be doing it with the Pacific Islands, just to be able to do more collaborative discussions afterwards. So if you're interested, please reach out. But we hope to see you in Barcelona. I'm also going to flag that later. So February 7th through 20th, we're doing some of you might be familiar with the GSMA's North America RIG, the Regional Interest Group, that we're going to be meeting in Miami this time. This is mostly a event for our members and mobile operators, but we do have an open workshop that's going to be on satellites and NTN. So yeah, there's going to be some discussion that'll be on Tuesday, February 17th. And for more information, you can hit the emails there at the bottom. My colleagues, Lydia and Jayla. And yeah, I'm here for any questions, but thank you for the opportunity. And I hope to see a lot of you in Barcelona.
Thank you for that. I would like to be in Barcelona myself, actually. All right. But for two reasons, the one that he mentioned earlier and for the event as well.
Not in that order.
Not in that order. All right. So we are, sorry, you were saying?
Oh, I was just saying, no, I understand the order.
So we are going to move right along with the agenda as well. I want to invite someone who's no stranger to presenting in this forum. I'm seeing him smiling already. Mr. Albert Daniel, Stakeholder Engagement Manager, to tell us about the ICON 85 Community Forum that is located in Mumbai, India. Is that this year, or is it always in Mumbai, India?
Actually speak about that. It's rotated, but I'll speak a little bit about that. So let me start my timer. Thank you very much, Bella, Secretary General, and acknowledge all the other panelists and the over 100 participants. ICANN, the acronym ICNN, stands for the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. One N for numbers. Each device connected to the internet must have a unique number and one name for domain names. And ICANN coordinates, it's a not-for-profit which coordinates all of these names and numbers globally. And we meet from time to time in various parts of the world. And our next meeting, ICANN 85, takes place from the 7th to the 12th of March, 2026 in Mumbai at the GeoWorld Convention Center. Now, ICANN has 3 different types of meetings every year, and we rotate these across the 5 geographic regions. So as you can see here, our last meeting, ICANN 84, was actually in Dublin, Ireland, and that was what we call the annual general meeting. The meeting coming up in Mumbai is the community forum. It's almost as long as an AGM. And then we have the shorter meeting, which is the policy forum taking place in Seville, ICANN 86. There was some mention by some of the other presenters about the cost of attending meetings. So ICANN has a fellowship program, which is a competitive global program where we cover the cost of travel and accommodation and give a small stipend for attending these ICANN meetings if you're not able to afford it. So what you do is you apply indicating how you plan to use the information from the ICANN meeting back home in your country and back in your region. The sessions of application for 85 and 86 are closed, as you have seen here, but the next application window opens for ICANN 87 from the 19th of March 2026, and it closes on the 19th of April 2026. So anyone who's interested in applying for a fellowship can do so. You simply go to the ICANN website, icann.org, and you can do a search on fellowships. Now, I've spoken about the actual meetings, but what really is ICANN? ICANN, yes, is an organization that coordinates, but more importantly, ICANN is an ecosystem that has these 3 parts. And the most important part of the ICANN ecosystem is the global multi-stakeholder community, representatives of business, of government, of end users, technical community, and so on. So this is why we have these global ICANN meetings. The community meets 3 times a year. They also work intersessionally. ICANN organization facilitates that, and policy is developed that is then put to the board for a final decision. So within the community, we have these 3 groups called supporting organizations that developed internet policy, one set of global policies for numbers, one set of global policies for country code top-level domain names like .tt, .bb, .lc, and so on, and another set of policies for generic top-level domain names. And you have these 3 supporting organizations, which are named the ASO, CCNSO, and the GNSO, and they drive policy development. But while policy development is taking place, you have these 4 advisory committees which represent end users, governments, the root server community, and the security community that make their inputs to the board and give advice on how policies can actually affect the functioning of the internet. So here you see the policy development process where the 3 supporting organizations identify issues, develop the policy, vote on those policies, submit them to the board, and then the board makes a final vote on these policies. But while this policy development is taking place by the community, you have the representatives of the end users, the security community, the root server community, and the governments actually making inputs and giving advice to the ICANN board of directors. Now, our Latin America and Caribbean global stakeholder engagement team assists in getting governments and other stakeholders ready for the ICANN meetings. Specifically for governments, we host a GAC webinar, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But for all participants at the meeting, there is an ICANN 85 prep week, which actually takes place on 3 dates before the meeting virtually, so everyone can attend that and actually learn of what is to come at the ICANN meeting and how they can get prepared to participate. In addition to that, for persons who are successful in being selected as ICANN fellows or the younger persons who are at university for the Next Gen program. There is specialized preparation, and there's mentorship before, during, and after the ICANN meeting. So the Governmental Advisory Committee webinar, the GAC webinar, is hosted by our Latin American Caribbean team. It's going to be held either in February or March 2026, but it is facilitated by the GAC senior staff at ICANN, and it's also customized for Latin America and the Caribbean. It's particularly useful for new GAC representatives because we know government representatives at ICANN change from time to time, typically, after every election. So we explained the fundamentals, the structure of the GAC, how the GAC operates, and how advice to the ICANN board is actually developed. And in addition to the new persons going to an ICANN meeting, the GAC webinar is also valuable for experienced and returning GAC representatives because it covers hot topics, how the GAC will be interacting with the board of ICANN, and also interactions with the supporting organizations and the advisory committees. So I spoke about the ICANN Prep Week, which is for everyone and which is held virtually online, and it's open to both experienced and new ICANN stakeholders. It explains the structure of the ICANN community, it highlights hot topics, and it frames important policy discussions that are going to take place at the ICANN meeting. So all of this information is available by doing a simple search on the ICANN website. Now I'll just highlight some of the hot topics, the key topics that are going to be discussed at the ICANN meeting, ICANN 85. We have a very specialized session for small island developing states, which incidentally is going to be co-chaired by the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. And we also have a session for members of the Latin American and Caribbean community called the LAC Space. So we know what the SIDS are under the United Nations definition, and we know that Caribbean territories have many similarities to territories in Oceania and the Africa region. So what we attempt to do at this session is look at the concerns, the needs, and the issues that are being faced by SIDS territories, and we have discussions on those in a specific session at the ICANN meeting. So some other key topics and sessions at ICANN 85 are the ICANN grant program, where we are giving money to various projects, money basically that was collected from the ICANN auctions for the generic top-level domain names. And we'll be talking a little bit about the next round of generic top-level domain names and the applicant support program. We'll be looking at the registration data request service, how law enforcement can actually access data that is required for prosecution of bad actors on the internet. And of course, we'll be looking at various aspects of DNS abuse and universal acceptance. This slide just gives a sense of what happened with the grant program, the applications that were received, how much money was actually given out, and so on. But this slide is a very important one because it shows that for over a year, from November 2024 to 2025, we have been talking almost at every single event about the applicant support program for organizations interested in registering a new generic top-level domain name. That applicant support program is now closed, and we are expecting that applications for new generic top-level domain names will open in April of this year. So what are the new generic top-level domain names? Names that add additional choice and additional competition to the root server system. .paris, .charity, .chase, .football, .dance are some of the new ones that came in. And also generic top-level domain names in scripts from other languages besides our well-known Latin script. So that's one of the topics. From time to time, law enforcement has some challenges in finding out who is the owner of specific domains that are being used for abuse. So we'll be talking about this RDRS service, which gives access to that data, which ICANN has developed to put the requesters in contact with those holding the data. And there are many other topics that will be discussed at the ICANN meeting. So this is where you can find further details on what's happening at ICANN, the ICANN website, icann.org. Of course, we are on X and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. And in addition to that, if anyone has any specific questions, this is my email, albert.daniels@icann.org, and you can feel free to communicate directly with me, and we do our best to assist and respond to your questions as required. So that is the end of my presentation, and I hand it back over to you, Bella and Rodney.
Thank you. You actually have a minute. So my question is, for the Next Gen program, do you have any youth from the Caribbean at this point?
Okay, so the Next Gen program runs when the ICANN meeting is hosted in your particular territory. So whenever there's an ICANN meeting in Latin America and the Caribbean, our university students get the opportunity to apply for the Next Gen program, and their airfare and their accommodation is covered. So that raises an issue, the issue of our youth not having access to the Next Gen program unless the meeting is in our region. And this is an incentive for the Caribbean to try to host an ICANN meeting. We've been looking at different territories, and we are currently internally looking at how possibly we can extend the Next Gen program for the Caribbean to participants when the meetings are being held in North America and not just Latin America and the Caribbean. So the short answer to your question, Secretary General, is no. There would not be any applicants from the Caribbean for the Next Gen program, simply because the ICANN meeting is being held in Mumbai.
All right, thank you. And this is we raised a number of issues with the CEO when he attended our ICT week in Jamaica. We were very pleased to have him there. And I know there's a number of follow-up issues that we discussed with him. I will also, just in closing, say that if there are no applicants from the Caribbean for the new GTLDs, I'm holding you personally responsible. Okay, we need some applicants from the Caribbean for the new generic top-level domains. Okay, we cannot continue to have this space dominated by the developed countries and for the big tech players. Okay, so we need to.
I'm happy to be held personally responsible, because I've been talking about this in the Caribbean since November 2024 for an entire year. I had to go to the doctor once because I was losing my voice, trying to encourage the Caribbean, trying to encourage the CARICOM region, the OECS, to take advantage of the applicant support program. We've held webinars, we've spoken about this at every event in the Caribbean, and we've really tried our best to get the Caribbean involved. But these are some of the issues that we can discuss at the SID session at ICANN. Why is it there is not better participation? Why are there no applications from the Caribbean for these new generic top-level domain names?
All right, thank you very much, Albert, for that. There's a question actually not for you, but for Nate regarding the ARIN Fellowship, and asking if someone from a country listed in ARIN's service area or ARIN's region, but not currently living in said country, still apply for the ARIN Fellowship program. And Nate, if you're on, you can maybe put that in the chat as well. But we're going to move on. I think the answer is yes. I could answer on behalf of ARIN. I think if you're from an ARIN country, I think even if you're not living there, but Nate can say. But we're going to move on to the Inter-American Telecommunication Commission, or CTEL. It's a very good partner for the CTU. We work a lot with them. They're one of the regional telecoms organization based in the Americas, and they focus on international policy and decision-making within the Americas region. And this year, from the 16th to the 19th of March in San Jose, Costa Rica, CTEL will host its 9th regular meeting of the Assembly of CTEL. CTEL is a creature of the Organization of American States based in Washington, D.C., And we're very pleased to welcome the Executive Secretary, Mr. Oscar Leon, to tell us about this 9th regular meeting of the Assembly of CETEL. Oscar, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Rodney. Sorry. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, representatives of CTU, member states, regulators, operators, and partners. Thank you very much to the Caribbean Telecommunication Union for the invitation and for the opportunity to continue our dialogue with the broader CTU community. Thank you, Rodney, again for the invitation today at this event and also this morning. Earlier today, I had the privilege of addressing to the Caribbean ICT Minister ahead of the regulatory authorities. Some of the information I will share now builds on that discussion. But this session is intended to go deeper in some of the technical, procedural, and coordination aspects, which are particularly relevant for the CTU members and focal points. My objective is to provide a clear overview of the 9th Assembly of CETEL and our regional preparation for the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference this year, and to highlight how CTU members can actively engage. I want to share my screen, but let me.
Do you have access to share? If not, I'll ask our host from the CTU to give him permission to share the screen, please.
Yes.
Okay,
Now,
yeah. We're good to go.
Perfect. Okay, so let me share to change the first slide. Perfect. So this presentation focus on two interconnected processes. The first of that is the 9th regular meeting of the Assembly of CETEL, and the second one is the CETEL preparation for the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference, the PP26. Both processes are critical for the region, so the coordination are key in this global representation. And you see here the dates for those events. The first one will be on March 16. It is an event of high-level dialogues, including a ministerial forum on digital Americas 2030. And the assembly will be between March 16 and 19. It is the 9th Assembly of CETEL. And the afternoon on Thursday 19 will be the 34th meeting of COMCETEL and the second CETEL preparatory meeting for the PP26. The first one, it was in the meeting that we had in December here, in November here in Washington, D.C., in preparation for the Plenipot. And this structure that we are having is trying to assure the political alignment and technical continuity of the work that we are doing to prepare those key important events that we have for this year. And let me change the other one. In relation of the event that we have, the high-level dialogues that we will have on March 16 in Costa Rica, in San Jose, Costa Rica, we will have there like a space for policy vision settings, while minister lead these discussions outcomes directly inform the technical and regulatory works that follows. So the CTU members play a key role in translating those political guidance into actionable regional initiatives. What I mean that all the outcomes that we will have there will be part of the discussion that we'll have for the assembly. And we will discuss further some of the documents and groups that we have in that assembly for the different working groups and ad hoc groups that we have for that. You see here, maybe it's not clear because it's small the letter, but believe me that it is the information that we send through the circulars to all of you with the draft version of the event of the high level event that we have on Monday 16, with the opening remarks of the General Secretary of the OES, Albert Ramdin, Doreen Bogdan Martin, and the ICT Minister of Costa Rica, Paulo Bogantes, and also we expected to have the President of Costa Rica, Rodrigo Chavez. The first three are confirmed. The President is expected. We don't have the confirmation, but for most of the different participants are already confirmed. We have also expected the United States Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, or the Undersecretary. And also after the Doreen Bogdan presentation, there is a panel with some of the industry. It is the president of GSMA, the president of GSOA, also the other satellite industry that is MMSSA. And let me show you the other part of the agenda. And I don't have here, it was for the morning. But we have for some of the panels, also ministers of the region. The moment we have the confirmation of 4 of the ministers, and also the participation of the ITU candidates that we have for the region, like Stephen Bureau, also Doreen Bogdan, and also from Brazil, Carlos Baigorri. In the other slide, we have the key dates, the deadlines that are important for all of you. We explained this morning that in January 15, next week, we have the deadline for the registration as observers of the associate members, all the sub-regional organizations like CTU, Comtelca, CAN, Mercosur, that usually participate in CITEL meetings, other OES agencies or Inter-America entities. That is the last day to have the registration. We also have some other dates for registrations. For the guests is January 30. For all the other participants, like the state members, will be on March 11. So please have in mind those dates, also the dates for any contribution. For example, March 1st is the deadline for the submission of any report, proposal, or any other thing. That would be the last day for that. In the other slide, we have some other information. More practical is for about the hotels and also the venue. It will be at the Costa Rica Convention Center, and near there are like 5 hotels. We already sent the circular for all the state members, observers, and associate members. We also can send again, if you don't receive that, even after the presentation that I did this morning, some of the countries already sent me the new information or the focal points, because maybe you are not receiving because you have the wrong person, because already changed some of the people that are part of your teams. So please update information to receive all the CTL mails. You have there the email for the registration. I will send this information, this presentation, to Rodney and Nigel and Francola, but to have that links at any other information that are in detail in this presentation. And some of the important issues, different topics that we will have during the assembly will be, first, the declaration of San Jose. And for the other important topics, we also have ad hoc groups in preparation for the assembly. In this declaration is where the state members write the specific or important regional initiatives and work that we will have for the next 4 years. So there is a first draft that is already published. It is in the CITEL webpage. And also we are receiving possible changes with the data we will see in other slide for the ad hoc groups that are reviewing and changing this declaration. Also, we have another ad hoc groups. One of them is for the strategic plan. You see the names of the people that are in charge of that. For the declaration will be right now Jose Peralta from Costa Rica. For strategic plan, Maria Jose Franco from Uruguay. They're receiving proposal changes, updates, comments for those specific topics. And also for the PCC mandates, we have, in case of the PCC one, is Victor Martinez. He is the current chairman of the PCC one. He is receiving also any proposal to change or mandates or structure of the PCC one. Maybe something important that I already explained this morning for the ministers is that some of the countries are planning or expecting to change the structure of the PCC1. We don't have any information at this moment to change the PCC2. We are waiting for the name of the person in charge of that for Brazil, because Brazil will be the next chair for the next 4 years in the PCC2. The other whole group is for the amendments that we will do for the statute and the regulation. For that is Monica Romero from Costa Rica. She is receiving also the possible changes for these 2 important documents for us. Is the structure for all our work, are the mandates for all the different committees, and also for the position of the people that we have inside of the different working groups, and also for the secretariat. And for that, it's important to explain that all the documents or draft documents are available on CITEL platforms, and the inputs of the CTU members are strongly encouraged to have within the deadlines. For this preparation, I have also here the information about the dates. You can see there that there are already a discussion during January and February, most of those groups, because we don't have enough time to have discussion in the assembly. Usually during the assembly, we already have, we had the discussion, we already had the agreements in some of the contents. So as you see here, there are some dates that are specific for the ad hoc groups. When you have the presentation, you can see each one and participate. We have also interpretation because it is in Spanish and English on all the different meetings. And now I want to explain some of the preparation for the plenipotentiary meeting. For this, it's important to understand who are in charge of this specific working group. Just a reminder, this plenipot group is part of the COMCITEL, it's not part of the PCC1. However, the COMCITEL meeting is only one, face-to-face meeting is only one per year. This year, because the assembly we will have 2 face-to-face, and for the reason is that the PCC1 let us to have some sessions inside the PCC1, but this group is for COMCITEL. The chair of this group is Edna Ferrer from Mexico, and the vice chair is Michelle Bailey from the United States. You see there the emails to contact them for any question, comments, or maybe support. As always we do, when we have more specific advance or outcomes or discussion of this topic, we will coordinate with Rodney to have a specific meeting to review the draft proposals or the draft IAPs, to have the support and to have at the end an agreement like Inter-American proposal. I don't know exactly when, but I think that maybe after the meeting that we have in Panama, It means approximately in May, we can do a meeting with CTU and to review those details and the next step for the agreements. You have there also the email of Marcela Estefan, who is the specialist for this group, and also my email for any question or information that you require. More details in the structure and working methodology. The working group will be mirrors the structure that we have at the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference. So the work is organized in 3 teams. One is the policy and legal matters, the other is administration and management, and the third is the public policy and general matters. So CTU members are encouraged to participate and assume leadership roles within these teams. As always, we are having mentoring program to support the people that wants to have not only as observer as to be a more active position, or even want to be chair of some of the different groups inside the PP, we can support you to have that knowledge to do this specific work. Now, in relation with the preparatory timeline and global context, the PP will take place in Doha, Qatar, November 2026. We will have the participation of the ITU in Panama, and also in the assembly that we have in March, to receive more detailed information in relation with the meeting, and also the hotels and all the other things that we require before to travel there. And the goal is to develop a coordinated inter-America proposal well in advance. It is to avoid that when we have the PP, to reduce the discussion and to have more specific, or try to define better the position that we have as region at this conference. And this early engagement avoid like reactive positioning on unstrengthened negotiation outcomes that we could have at the PP26. And for this, we have those meetings that you see there. I already explained the meeting that we have in November inside the COMCITEL, and the next one will be on March 19 inside the COMCITEL meeting, and the other ones in Panama City 24 April. All those dates are already confirmed. The places are also already confirmed. Just to clarify, the meeting in September 7 to 11 in Asunción, Paraguay, and the last one that will be a coordination meeting will be in October 7 to 9, as preparation for the last one that we have in November 2026. As always, the CITEL Secretariat will have meetings inside the Plenipot to have the advance of the negotiation of the Inter-American proposal, or to take decisions in relation with the different negotiations that we have during the conference.
Hey, Oscar, sorry, just 1 more minute. We're just a little bit over time, so if you yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. I am ending. I have just two more slides. This one is to explain the formally announced nomination that we have for the position of the ITU. It's important just to clarify that those countries that you see for the ITU Council are those that at this moment are part of the ITU Plenipot website. So if any other of the countries are thinking to be part of the council, it's important to send the formal nomination to the ITU. As always, we said also, because there are another 2 candidates for other positions, so it's important to have the formally formally announced to the ITU. And also, I'm ending my presentation is to have some of the information that we require to the timelines in relation with the beginning, the start of the program orientation session that I explained about the mentoring. It will be on February 25, and so please register to this mentoring program. And I know that's important, and I know that some of the Caribbean countries want to participate in that. So please register here to be part of this mentoring program. It is another information about the PCC2 meetings, but it is part of the presentation. So you have at the end the email of CITEL and also our webpage to review the inputs, documents, or all the other contributions that we have for the different meetings. Thank you so much, and I think that I try to be strict with the time for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar, for that presentation. I don't see any questions, and we're just a little behind time, so I'm going to move on. Just to let you know, and Jamaica is on this call. We'll be putting forward Jamaica for the council. They're going through their formal approval process, and through CTEL, of course, we will notify you of Jamaica's intention to run for council. And as you mentioned, also Bahamas' bid for Deputy Secretary General of the ITU. So thank you very much for the work you're doing, and we will be promoting the 9th regular meeting of the Assembly with our ministers, as you know, and you were on the call this morning with our ministers, and we'll be ensuring that there's full Caribbean representation there in Costa Rica. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronnie, for all the work that we are doing with you, the joint work with the CTU and CITEL. This continued collaboration really helps the region to try to move all the agenda and the common goal that we have in the region. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. The next law actually belongs to me, and I'll be very quick because we're talking about the 54th Executive Council meeting of the CTU. The Executive Council is the governing body, the administrative body of the CTU, just like the ITU Council. But sitting above the Executive Council is the General Conference of Ministers. And the last Executive Council meeting was held in Jamaica under the theme Driving Change, Connecting Futures. We passed a number of resolutions, which then went up to the General Conference. And that meeting is taking place on the 17th of March. It's open to Executive Council members only. It's a virtual meeting. And we'll be following up on decisions that were taken in Jamaica. Usually I report to the Executive Council on all the activities that we've been participating in. We present the audited financial statements of the CTU and the work plan and so on. So I don't need to dwell on that. That will be taking place 17th of March virtually. But I want to move on to LACNIC. One of our regional partners is LACNIC, the Latin America and the Caribbean Regional Internet Registry. So the Caribbean is divided between ARIN and LACNIC in terms of the IP addresses that we obtain here, and LACNIC is one of our partners. I think Miguel was scheduled to speak, but we have representing LACNIC, Alan Ramirez Garcia, who will tell us about LACNIC 44 and LACNOG 2026, where it is taking place, who is it for, and why you should attend. So, Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. It's such a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alan Ramirez, Strategic Relations Coordinator at LACNIC. And first, I would like to excuse Nacho Estrada, Strategic Relations Chief, who was unable to connect to this session. As you know, LACNIC is the regional internet registry responsible for the administration of internet number resources, such as IP addresses and autonomous system numbers, in the Latin American region and part of the Caribbean, and for promoting the stable and secure development of the internet in the region. LACNIC carries out several activities, among them, two main activities. Two main LACNIC meetings take place throughout the year. The closest one is LACNIC 45. It's not actually 44 as in the program. It's LACNIC 45, which will take place from May 11 to May 14 in Guadalajara, Mexico, bringing together the regional internet community to discuss key technical and governance topics about the internet. The event will include tutorials, a technical forum with an open call for sessions proposal on areas such as IPv6, DNS, cybersecurity, network measurements, and IP applied to networks, as well as spaces for knowledge exchange, collaboration, and debate as well. On another topic, LACNIC has launched an open call to support internet governance initiatives aim at national internet governance initiatives such as Trinidad and Tobago Internet Governance Forum, for example, as well as national youth initiatives and internet governance schools. The support includes financial assistance, depending on the type of initiative, access to Zoom webinars, account for up to 500 participants, and the participation of LACNIC experts as speakers. This initiative seeks to strengthen internet governance capacity and foster inclusive and multi-stakeholder participation across the region. And we hope to see you all at LACNIC 45. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Alan. Looking forward to hearing more and seeing more from LACNIC as well in the region. So thank you very much for that. And so everyone, we are at the industry highlight of the evening, right? And I want to invite our speakers to get ready. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for staying on up to this part of the agenda this afternoon. And we are going to go right into it. This segment was highlighted for the work of the CTU members. And these two presenters and organizations have worked with the region before and are now CTU members. And they will present on space sustainability, its importance to the region, especially small island development states. And it's going to be presented by, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, at the top of our segment today, it's going to be presented by, firstly, Dr. Siok Tan. Forgive me, is the head of Space and Spectrum Affairs at Welchman & Keane, who will speak on a topic. There we go, Dr. Siok Tan. She's going to talk about from crowded orbits to sustainability, connectivity implications for the Caribbean. Over to you, Dr. Tan.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, everyone. Hello, distinguished colleagues. I'm very happy to be here and have the opportunity to share with you our work on this very important topic. So we have been studying over the last few years, and we have published 2 white papers on this subject. So I would like to invite you to view them on our website if you are interested. So in today's presentation, I will focus on a few key aspects of space sustainability that could affect the Caribbean community, the relevant international governance measure, the challenges, approaches taken by other national administration to address the issue, and why public-private partnership is an important effort. And finally, I would like to move into space transparency to end the discussion. So first of all, allow me to introduce our company, Welchman & Keane. So Welchman & Keane is a global advisory firm specializing in telecoms policy, regulations, and market access. Our mission is to support equitable access to technology by helping government agencies to navigate complex and companies to navigate complex regulatory environment, enter new entrants, and build sustainable connectivity. We have offices, as you can see on the map, we have offices in different regions, so which allow us to navigate the local landscape quite effectively. So yeah, thank you. So we are proud to be a Singapore certified B Corporation. This reflects our commitment to high standards of accountability, transparency, and social impact. We are also member of the regional and international organizations such as ITU, APT, CTEL, PITA, and more importantly, we are associate member of CTU. So through these networks, we contribute to policy dialogues, technical cooperation, and knowledge sharing as well. So yeah, let's move into the main topic. So the importance of space sustainability and why does it matter for the Caribbean region? So for CTU members, space sustainability has a very real implication for connectivity, for resilience, and development in the region. We know that the region is among the most disaster exposed in the world, and satellites are often the first or sometimes the only communication infrastructure available after major storms. This is why space sustainability is not just an environmental concern, but also a critical issue for telecoms in terms of reliability, regulatory planning, and also broader socio-economic development of the region. So when we talk about sustainability, we have two key things in mind: sustainability orbits and spectrum. So space sustainability is fundamentally about long-term reliability and also fairness. So from a telecom perspective, the key issue is that orbits and spectrum are very limited resources, as you all know. Much like terrestrial spectrum, when they're overcrowded or they are not managed properly, so everyone will bear the cost. With more satellite being deployed nowadays, responsible design, de-orbit plan coordination will reduce the risk of collision and orbital congestions. This can preserve the usable orbit space for future satellite missions. So if satellites cannot safely operate due to debris or unprecedented orbital traffic, service availability and continuity can be compromised. Sustainability practice reduce long-term operational uncertainty. And reduced spectrum frequency used to deliver this communication service are limited resources, as I just said, and require efficient spectrum management and international coordination. Sustainable spectrum management would prevent harmful interference that would degrade the communication services. So with this context in mind, the next session will look into global sustainability challenges emerging from rapid satellite growth, starting with debris and orbital congestions. Thank you. So, space sustainability challenges are most visible today in the form of debris and orbital congestion, as I mentioned before. So the scale is unprecedented in the space world. The table on the right is actually extracted from one of our paper published in 2024. So it might illustrate some of the older data, not the latest one, but it shows you that the scale of the growth, thousands of satellites are launched and tens of thousands are planned across multiple large constellations. And according to the European Space Agency, there are more satellites launched in the recent years than in the past 6 decades combined together. So as we know that high-speed orbital travel means even small debris fragment can pose catastrophic collision risks. As orbital traffic increases, so does the amount of space debris. Debris actually can come from multiple sources. It can be a defunct satellite. It can be a spent rocket stages. It can be mission-related remnants or collision between objects. Each collection can continue to generate more fragments, thousands of fragments, creating a cascading effect and escalating the probability of future collisions. And uncertainty future deployment can add congestion and reduce predictability of the orbital slots. So countries without satellites face challenges in securing safe, efficient orbital position, and this affects equitable access to space resources. So the next slide. So as you can see, the legal foundation for outer space has come a long way if you look at the chart on the right-hand side. So at the global level, we have the well-known Outer Space Treaty. So outer space is recognized as a shared global resources, so states have responsibility for national activities in space, including private operators. So the UN Outer Space Treaty sets a high-level principle for responsible use, non-appropriation, and liability for national activities in space, while The COPIUS guideline and IIDC recommendation provide technical guidance for debris mitigation, such as end-of-life disposal, collision avoidance, and responsible conservation planning. And we all know well that ITU is responsible for orbit and spectrum. So if you look at the chart, ITU came in a little bit later, which is in more recent years. So ITU instruments include Resolution 219, Resolution ITUR 74, which embedded space sustainability into spectrum and orbit management by directing study and technical work on the rational, efficient, and equitable use of radio frequency and the associated orbital resources. From the industrial side of things, we see that there is a space sustainability rating that assesses operators' practices across collision avoidance, de-orbit planning, orbit selection, data transparency. So you would say that SSR will complement regulatory frameworks by providing a voluntary benchmark, incentivizing responsible behavior even when legal options are weak. So I would say the key takeaway from this slide I would like to present is that existing framework does provide guidance, incentives, and coordination mechanism. They reflect a combination of legal principles, technical best practices, and voluntary industry standard. However, these frameworks outline what should be done, but they do not compel compliance. So this led to this discussion of limitation of these current frameworks. So the current international law mostly govern liability for direct damage caused by space object. Indirect effect like orbital congestions, economic disruption, or environmental impact are not legally mandated to be mitigated. States have no binding obligation to enforce sustainability measure on domestic or private actors beyond basic liability provisions. So that it results in, there's also a weak enforcement mechanism as well, as international treaties and guidelines rely on voluntary compliance. There's no central authority that try to monitor or fine anyone that's not complying. So multiple agency and standard exist. So it created a fragmented approach from national licensing regime to regional cooperation programs, leading to inconsistent practices. Large-scale consolidation intensified the need for cohesive global rules, as unilateral or partial measures are insufficient to prevent collisions and spectrum conflicts. So I wouldn't go into all of this example, but from a broad approach, you can see that different national has already taken different approaches to support or achieve safe sustainability goals. So we can broadly categorize into three different ones. In terms of debris mitigation and licensing standards, Australia and China has illustrated how debris mitigation is being embedded directly into their national licensing rules. And some jurisdictions are using liability and insurance rule to shift sustainability risk back onto the operator. Say, for example, UK has a public consultation that reviews orbital liability, insurance threshold, and license fee with the aim of incentivizing sustainable behavior and establishing a long-term sustainability roadmap. There are also national industry and capability plans that embedded into different national plans that would help to promote international cooperation into sustainable operation and supported by global forums as well. So the key takeaway is that national administration has shown increasing willingness to translate sustainability principles into binding licensing, liability, and industrial policy. So I will also briefly touch upon this. So there are some incentive and markets too that can incentivize responsible space operation, such as the space sustainability rating provide a global benchmark. So the score will evaluate collision avoidance, debris mitigation, all this a list of criteria. So they encourage operators to adopt industry best practices and maintain responsible behavior. advanced adaptive licensing, risk-based, tax-based. So regulators can adjust licensing terms based on sustainability performance as well, and charges scale to satellite number, orbit, or size, or the way they address sustainability. And insurance and financing that's linked to insurance premium to space-friendly performance as well. Tax and grants to encourage private sector to invest. And the ESA Zero Debris Charter is a voluntary thing. So it has 12 countries as signatories, including 100+ company that's already signed up. So this demonstrates global multi-stakeholder cooperation where government and industry co-develops sustainability standards. The key takeaway is that combining ratings, adaptive licensing, financial incentive, industry commitments create a market-based framework that will encourage responsible space operation. So aligning policy, finance, operation practice level the playing fields and accelerate global adoption of sustainable practice. So there are multiple pathways for collaboration. We notice that that's increasingly popular. So these are a list of it. I won't go into it, but they are, say, sharing of data transparency in terms of sharing data well, the key takeaway is that share data would help foundation for sustainable operation. As you know that you can predict, you can plan your traffic. And industry in core developing framework and standards, we have seen that as well in FCC licensing, collaborating with their stakeholders and multiple stakeholders and regional cooperation as well. We can see that Japan and Australia has formed different partnerships. So this shows that regional and multi-stakeholder collaboration strengthen operational safety and enable equitable access to space. So the next slide will focus on why these approaches matter specifically for CTU members, highlighting the relevance for, again, connectivity, resilience, equitable access, emerging market participation in space ecosystem. So yeah, in terms of relevance, we can see a few broad groups. So in terms of supporting long-term connectivity and resilience, as we said before, it helps preserve orbital slots and spectrum needed for reliable satellite connectivity, reduce debris risk, support continuity of various applications, such as broadband, IoT, and emergency communication services, which I briefly mentioned before. And they also enable climate, disaster, and public safety services. So clean and predictable orbit improve reliability on, say, Earth observation, weather forecasting, disaster response satellite, and the list go on. So consideration for emerging and smaller operators in the region, we think that capacity building is very important. Access to shared data and cooperation framework will lower the technical barrier of entry. In terms of market access, sustainable practices support fair access and orbital resources and reduce dominance by high-risk constellations. Fair use of orbits, sustainability frameworks help protect long-term access for new entrants and smaller administrations. So we can see the total relevance for the CTU members. So this is one of the final topic that I would like to touch upon. So from space sustainability, we are moving into space transparency. Transparency, at the previous slide, we examined why space sustainability matters so much and why existing legal and governance frameworks are struggling to keep pace with the rapid satellite development. At the current stage, we know that they are fragmented, they're unevenly enforced, and often voluntary. So given this constraint, we think that the most immediate and practical step forward is to improve transparency of space operations. So the goal of space transparency is to avert accidents, that means collisions, avoid ambiguity so that you will reduce miscalculations when you have your planning of your traffic. Advanced assurance means you build trust with other operators. So by making space asset and activities and aims to clear and to clear any misunderstanding. So key mechanism for achieving this space transparency could include several categories. First one is register and notify, so maintain a current launch and satellite registry, publish launch plan, share orbit data, conjunction alerts, you provide operational context that issue any notices, proximity notices, life cycle documentation, shared diary medication plan, end of life report, and so on and so forth. So for CTU member, satellite connectivity isn't optional. We know that it underpins disaster response, emergency communication, and everyday public services. Transparency helps by giving us clearer visibility into satellite operations so we can spot risks earlier, understand dependency, and reduce the information gap between smaller administration and large operators. And when satellite behavior is more predictable, it's easier to protect fair access, spectrum, and orbital resources. So in summary, ensuring space sustainability requires coordinated action across governance. Technology is one big thing that I have left out in this discussion, but if you refer to our paper, we have mentioned quite a lot of that. And operational transparency. By working together, government, industry, and operators can reduce debris risk, preserve orbital and spectrum resources, and enable safe, reliable, and equitable access to space for long-term for everyone. Thank you for your attention and engagement.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Tan. And just being mindful of time, I'm going to go right into our next presentation. Dr. Tan, I'd like you to stay on because we will do a Q&A post to the audience at the end of the next presentation. So up next, we have Dr. Kohler, who will be speaking on space safety and sustainability and operators' perspective from Amazon. Over to you, Dr. Kohler.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. Can you hear me okay? And can you see the slides?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to address this very distinguished group and follow on this very interesting presentation from Dr. Tan. Again, my name is Dr. Joseph Kohler. I'm with Amazon Leo. We used to be called Amazon Project Kuiper. For those of you who haven't heard yet, we have rebranded a little bit, and we're now Amazon Leo. I'm the principal or head of space safety and sustainability. I have worked these issues for over 15 years in various different capacities, including regulator from a regulator perspective, independent party assessment, and now with Amazon Kuiper. So I'd be happy to walk you through a more of an operator perspective, an industry perspective. This is a field that has gained or garnered a lot of great interest over the last 10 years, and rightfully so, but unfortunately has also led to some misperceptions, and I hope to walk you through some of those misperceptions as well. But before I go there, space safety and sustainability, just like the previous speaker, Dr. Tan, illustrated, is a key aspect of how we operate in space today. And at Amazon Leo, the way we look at it is in a number of different categories because it can actually include a lot of different aspects. The way we decided to divide the concept of space safety and space sustainability into different categories is because some of those will have competing technology solutions or require competing technology solutions. But the four categories are where we look at space safety and sustainability as our anchor tenant, and all decisions that we make, how we design our satellites, how we operate our satellites, are based on operating safely in space. The biggest one, of course, is assuring the safety of in-space operation. That includes everything of, for example, making sure you have maneuverability for collision avoidance, share your ephemeris, your data with other operators, and so forth. The second category is at the end of a satellite lifetime, what do you do with it, right? And so the standard practice is that you lower the orbit of your satellite, of your LEO satellite, to an altitude so it demises and incinerates basically in the upper atmosphere, with the purpose of not leaving any space debris behind. And secondly, fully demise in the atmosphere so you do not hurt anybody on the ground, right? We do not want to have energetic particles or materials land on the ground and potentially hurt somebody, right? So that's the second reason for that. And we particularly design our satellites with that in mind to make sure they fully incinerate. The third category, as we watch very carefully, is also the impact on the atmosphere. You might wonder what happens to those particles left behind in the atmosphere. And our goal is to, design our satellite such that it will reduce the impact on the atmosphere. However, there's also still a number of scientific research necessary, and the conclusions are not fully understood yet. What is actually the impact on the atmosphere? But we are really investing into gaining more scientific understanding and contributing to this scientific field of impact on the atmosphere. And the fourth category is enabling dark and quiet skies. This one is particularly important to me. I have a PhD in astrophysics. I used to be an astronomer myself, and I'm very familiar with that topic. And we have, for example, on that area, we have implemented a very custom-made dielectric film to reduce the reflectivity of our satellites. And as we're now operating or have launched over 180 satellites, I'm happy to report that satellites, as they're getting into the operational altitudes of around 630 kilometers right now, they are not visible to the naked eye. So that is really a great success story. And but we keep on continuing to iterate and improve upon using our dielectric film that reduces the brightness of our satellites. So as you can imagine, I work with the rest of the Amazon LEO team on designing the satellite, making sure these space safety and sustainability requirements are implemented, and so we can accomplish those goals. But you might wonder, what is the difference between space safety and sustainability? Often those terms are being used synonymously or interchangeably. And the best way to think about it is safety in terms of what is it that you need to do as an operator to make sure you do not generate more debris, right? Operate safely in space. Everything that you do in that regard that includes, for example, maneuverability, sharing your maneuver plans and so forth, have shielding on your satellites to withstand small micrometeorites, leads then to this longer term concept of space sustainability. So those terms, safety and sustainability, often used interchangeably, but they really have different implications. And I alluded to earlier, this topic of space safety and sustainability has gained a lot of public attention recently, but unfortunately also leads to some misperceptions. So for example, the previous speaker, Dr. Tan, alluded to that space activities lead to more space debris. That is actually not the case. And unfortunately, a lot of people have that misunderstanding. So hopefully this diagram here can illustrate why we disagree with that statement. You see here in the blue graph, and this is a diagram published quarterly by NASA. If you look at the blue diagram here, or the blue line, this represents the number of active spacecraft. The dotted purple line represents the number of fragmentation debris. And just recently, I think it was about a year ago, we've actually surpassed the number of active spacecraft that are controlled and operating compared to the number of fragmentation debris. In the past, it used to be the case, indeed, that space debris was a big issue and was growing, but really due to the fact that it was government missions or anti-satellite testing, space is very hard indeed, right? So we had to learn a lot, and operators had to learn a lot over the last few decades. But as you can see, until about the year 2006, you had an anti-satellite test. And then since, and those peaks are due to anti-satellite testing and one major collision indeed. But since then, the purple fragmentation debris numbers have actually stayed fairly constant. Whereas at the same time, the blue line of active spacecraft is indeed increasing. So we disagree with the statement that more commercial activity leads automatically to more space debris. Now, why is this happening? And so our hypothesis is that, like I said earlier, space is hard. Space operators had to learn how to build reliable satellites, how to make sure your batteries are not exploding. Remove old and defunct satellite from space is another big component. But since about 2010, when those best practices have developed of reliable deorbit requirements, how you build better batteries, include shielding in your satellites, the space debris environment actually quite stabilized. So there's a number of other misperceptions that I want to go over. And really, perhaps it started with the movie Gravity. Gravity is a fun movie with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, but the physics maybe is not so real. But, rightfully so, it has led to great interest in the general public. But it leads to sometimes headlines in space news and in the public press that are more hyperbolic than they actually are. For example, we often use I hear often the term mega constellation. If you're a technical person or a scientist like myself, or even a spectrum person, mega has a certain meaning. It means 10 to the 6, or it means 1 million. And we are far from 1 million satellites, right? Amazon right now is operating over 180 satellites, and we're far from 1 million satellites. Even if you include all the other operational satellites together, we're far from 1 million satellites. I've done a study and went back in the time history of the internet and searched for where does that term actually come from, the term mega constellation. And I found out that it actually was invented by a space news reporter as clickbait. It created a very flashy headlight, so people will click on it. And unfortunately, a lot of people fall into that trap of reusing the term mega constellation. Also, it really portrays, it often is conveyed with a meaning of space is overcrowded, which is also really not the case, especially when you look at pictures like on the right here, where the satellites are magnified by many, many orders of magnitude, so you can actually see them. In reality, if the satellites would be drawn to scale, you would not even see them in this picture. But it gives an impression that space is crowded. Now, there is a study by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It's a very reputable university in the United States. They have done a study and looked at how many satellites could you actually safely fit between orbits of, let's say, 200 and 900 kilometers, if spaced appropriately. And they found 1.7 million satellites can fit into that space. Now, if you look at remember the graph from before, we're just at tens of thousands of satellites right now, right? We're far, far away from 1.7 million satellites. However, where I agree with the previous speaker, the technical exchange and the coordination between operator is really critical. And that's something that we have always also strongly advocated for. The second misperception is who is actually creating the space debris. If you go back and there's a study that was published at last year's European Space Debris Conference, the study found that 94% of all the space debris is actually from government missions and anti-satellite testing. Old legacy government satellites and anti-satellite testing. Very, very little is from commercial operators at this point. So this really speaks to the incentives, the internal incentives, the current regulatory requirements, the industry best practices. They work. Since 2010, 2014, most of the commercial operators really adhere to the industry best practices and standards that are commonly available out there. The third misperception is that constellations are the bad operators. The previous speaker said high-risk constellation. That's actually also further from the truth. Constellation, so the misperception is that constellations need extra rules and more rules. But actually intrinsically, for example, Amazon Leo is investing over $10 billion to build a long-term infrastructure. We cannot afford to mess up our own infrastructure. So there is an intrinsic behavior to actually operate safely and with space sustainability in mind. This diagram here I took from, and I'd be happy to share the slides later as well. I took from the European Space Agency Space Environment Report from 2024. As you can see here, constellation operators are largely compliant with the orbit compliance recommendations, whereas non-constellation operators in red here are non-compliant to almost 20% of them are not compliant. So there's a difference. And if you look at why that is, we believe it's a conglomeration of the systems, incentives, ranging from treaties, laws, regulation, best practices, and internal incentives that contribute to this actually fairly stable space debris environment that allow us to increase the commercial activities. And really at the biggest part, the biggest contributor there is the internal incentives. As I said earlier, we're investing a large amount into developing a long-term infrastructure that we cannot afford to lose by creating more space debris and making our own operations more difficult. Secondly, the industry, if you look at how many satellites the private sector is operating today, has actually surpassed the experience of governmental operators and is willing to share those best practices and standards. And then on top of those, of course, you have national regulations, law, and treaties that contribute to a safe environment. So for example, in the United States, we have a very robust, already a very robust space sustainability regulatory environment. This constitutes, for example, demonstrating a probability of disposal method to a certain degree, a disposal requirement, sharing your ephemeris data, your maneuver plan. In addition, constellation operators get extra license conditions, which include not to operate or not to deploy directly into operation altitude, avoid collision, share, communicate with NASA, monitor propellant reserves, and so forth. So actually, this is a very robust regulatory environment, I would say. Needless to say, as other national regulators are looking at avenues of supporting a safe space environment and sustainable environment, they are opportunities for global harmonization. And those include just very simple things like contact information sharing so we can coordinate maneuvers, share those ephemeris and covariance maneuver plans, make sure your satellite is indeed maneuverable above a certain altitude. That, for example, is very important because the low LEO environment, let's say up to 600 kilometers, is actually self-cleaning, self-healing in that sense. If you do have a an anomaly and creating a non-functioning satellite, the atmospheric drag is actually taking care of that by itself. On the other hand, if you're a geo operator and if you create space debris, that space debris is going to remain there forever and making operations much more difficult. So at low Earth orbits, there is a self-cleaning property of the LEO environment. And in addition to that, a number of design standards, but that should be, in order to enable innovation, that should be left to industry best practices and so forth. And that includes how to design your satellites and shielding, passivation standards and so forth. So I know I didn't have, there's a lot more detail that I could provide. I really appreciate the opportunity to address this distinguished group here. Feel free to reach out to me, anybody on this call, if you would like to schedule a more detailed discussion, happy to do so. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to address this group.
Thank you so much for that to both Dr. Tan and Dr. Koller. Some of the takeaways I would say, from both presentations, one is that sustainability is definitely a topic that we have to keep at top of mind, especially as it relates to space and space safety. I do want to invite the audience to ask questions. I don't know if that means Albert has a question because he came on. Okay. If you guys have any questions, you can drop it in the Q&A or drop it in the chat right now.
Yeah.
And while you do that, I do have one question for both speakers, whomever it may apply to, and especially with the way that technology is going and what's happening globally in all industries. For me personally, when I think about what's happening with AI and what's happening with just technology in general, we think more connectivity, more capacity. It means more debris, more investment in space satellites, for example. At least that's how I think about it when I think about the technology industry. Do you think is there a connection? Is there a connection? And do you think that AI and the advancement of AI is going to contribute to sustainability, or is it actually going to work in the opposite direction of sustainable space?
That's a very good question. I appreciate it. The orbital dynamics is actually a very old physics problem that has been understood since Newton developed his laws of gravity. So orbit dynamics can be resolved by simply solving or adding enough computational power and integrating of those orbital dynamics equations. That being said, Amazon Leo, of course, is using AI for data analysis, for understanding certain behaviors, for reducing data sets and better understand it. But by itself, orbital dynamics, or how to operate a constellation, is a very deterministic problem that does not necessarily require AI solutions.
And Dr. Tan, you wanted to respond there as well, or to anything that was presented before, actually?
Yeah, I think Mr. Koller is Dr. Koller is in a better position to address this question because they are operators themselves. So yeah, I think I'm keen to learn more about AI, how AI can help with real operation. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. We are just over time. I mean, this topic, we discussed whether we should have a whole webinar on this topic to allow more discussion. Clearly, there are differing views from the operator and also from Watchman Keen that does research on this topic. I understand the arguments that have been made. I mean, logically, I guess maybe from my perspective, there are more satellites being launched than this. Then logically, there should be more debris, especially. But you've explained quite a bit, Dr. Koller, and you provided some data, which I think is very interesting. And I think we should probably follow this up with a more in-depth webinar that allows for other industry players as well to share. GSOA, we collaborate a lot with the Global Satellite Operators Association. I think Amazon is a member as well, I believe. And one of the things we're proposing is a webinar specifically on space connectivity along with GCO. So maybe we can touch on this topic in greater depth during that webinar. But we are out of time, and I want to thank you both for contributing to this discussion. Very interesting debate. I want to thank all of the speakers who presented earlier on those upcoming meetings for the first 3 months of 2026. And we will definitely be following up, sharing the presentations with you, ensuring that there's good Caribbean representation within these topics.
Do have to remind everyone as well that to fill out the evaluation form. All the presentations will be uploaded. There's also an evaluation form /survey that you can fill out. You can go to www.ctu.int under past events and fill that out. So really want your feedback. It's important. So please do go fill out the evaluation form.
Yes, and I see a comment here from the Caribbean Meteorological Organization. Arlene Lang, she's interested in the atmospheric impacts of the debris on stratosphere composition and ultimately weather and climate. We won't take the answer now, but just to note the interest there. And I will also invite you, Arlene, to join us on our upcoming webinar on space connectivity, and maybe we can discuss that issue a bit more. So I think that's it for now for today. Thank you so much again for your participation. Thanks for staying on to the end of this, and maybe you can have the last word, Christopher.
I guess the only thing I would say is go subscribe to the CTU website, stay in contact with the teams at the organization for all of the events that's coming up. Look out for those announcements regarding the fellowships and programs that you guys may be able to apply for yourselves as well. Like and follow on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and connect with us online. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Good evening.